Hi, welcome to the Raising the Standard Show. I'm Dr. Andrea Ramirez, and I'm here with emergent Dr. Esmeralda Sanchez. She's about to start her PhD at Rice University. As she is a colleague, and more than that, a treasured friend. And I love when you co-host, so thanks for being here. Why don't we dive into our topic and what we're going to be sharing today?
Sure, great. Well, we have a really important topic today, which is raising a college-ready child.
Yeah, you know, I sat down in Anaheim with Carlos Oscar, and he's a comedian, and he's wonderful and just so full of life, and you can tell that God really has him in his path and his groove. And but he's a dad of, I think, if I remember right, 3 or 4 daughters, and he got really serious about helping them to become college ready. And so I think that as we think about preparing our students to love the Lord with the entirety of their minds, that means getting ready for college for so many of our students. And you know, you and I work in the stats world, and we get statistics being flung around quite a bit. But recently we came upon one where only 1 out of 4 Hispanic students are college ready.
Wow.
And it's the statistics are 1 out of 10 African American students are college ready. And so what we're seeing is, I saw a little marketoon the other day where the graduate was going across the stage for high school graduation, and the chancellor or the principal that was giving them the diploma gave them the diploma and also a list of remedial courses.
Wow.
And so that's what's happening to so many of our students. They think that they're doing well because they're just looking at grades, and they're thinking, well, I'm making A's, B's, maybe a C here or there. I'm ready for college. But the tragedy there is that they're not being prepared. And so we want to encourage students and parents to be thinking
definitely
about that TAG approach. Think about your T for teacher feedback, A for assessments, the end of year assessments, how are you doing there, and then G for grades. Look at all those 3 pieces so that you get a real glimpse of how your student is doing, and that way you can know how you can better support them if there is a gap or if there's something that you need help with.
Right, and I'm so glad you mentioned that TAG approach, because a lot of times we hear, help your child be college ready, but we don't always share how do we do that. So that TAG approach is really a great tool for parents to use.
You know, another statistic that came across, I know you and I have visited about it, is by a Learning Heroes study, and basically they say 90% of Hispanic parents want their student to be college ready, but the reality is only 20 to 30% of our students are really getting to that point. So that goes back to that 1 out of 4, and we certainly want you to know all about how Carlos Oscar views college readiness, because he is a funny guy but a serious dad when it comes to preparing his daughters to be college ready. So watch this interview. You're going to be blessed. I know it's just one that's going to bless many. Hey, welcome to the Raising the Standard Show. I'm Dr. Andrea Ramirez. I am thrilled to have Carlos Oscar with me today, who's been on The Tonight Show, ABC's The View. You've done Comedy Central. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you've done.
I've been around a long time.
Well, you have quite a resume, and you are known as, your stage, let me just say, from the moment you hit the stage, you're known as Motor But Not Foul-Mouthed Style, because you're just clean comedy.
I try to slow my brain down, and my wife says, slow down. I go, didn't I? It's like, I just keep on going. I'll just start, and I just, you know, you might have to interrupt me.
I love it. I love it. Well, we want to know, you know, we reference a scripture that we find in the Old Testament and New Testament. We know that you're a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, and we want to know, what does loving the Lord with all your mind mean to you personally?
Well, you know, I had a rough background growing up in the Bronx, and a lot of violence and this and that, so I had to, like, really, if it wasn't through God's grace that I got through, because I never wore that badge of honor of being in this environment, and so it's even hard to talk about it. So when I was in the Air Force, that's when I got closer to God, and I started reading the Word, and I was like, wow, my whole perspective on things changed. Yeah, I was a young man, way back, that's a long time ago, but I started learning that I meant as much to God as anybody else, that love is all the same. And I used to think that I had to be like this perfect person, and like even when I started doing shows, I was doing a show at the world famous Laugh Factory, and a pastor after the show says, hey, can you do that at my church? I go, at your church? I go, I don't do a churchy show. He goes, yeah, but you're all clean. I can see, aren't you a Christian? I go, yeah. I mean, I don't know how he knew. He goes, I knew you were. So that's why I started doing shows at faith-based. But when I felt that God wanted me to also be able to do my stand-up in all audiences everywhere, I was like, I don't have this like story that's so compelling. Like, I didn't go to jail. I was never on drugs or anything. So, but I saw that I did have a very tough upbringing. So to me, God just brings us through grace through some of the most, I look back at some of the things, the situations that I could have been in trouble, but for some reason I just felt that in my spirit that God said that's not the right thing to do, and so I just followed the Spirit, and thankfully, you know, I've been able to have a much different life than probably many people would have thought.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we know that you're a dad, and you were telling me a little bit about your daughters. And
yeah, I have all women at my house, two daughters, and daughters are different than boys, because you know, it's like you can tell a boy, do that, okay, Dad. You tell a girl, like, oh, why? Like, they have to know the why. They have to know the why and everything. So, and it's funny because my daughters are from this new millennial tech age, you know. But I have a joke in it because I knew it was going to start young, because they're always on their phones and everything, you know. Their friends come to my house. What do they call? They don't call them parties anymore. They call them kickbacks.
Kickbacks.
We're having a kickback.
Got to get the lingo down.
And they're all like, "What is this kid?" And they come to my, you know, these Wi-Fi kids, and they're lazy. The kids say they're lazy, right? Yeah. Even the lollipops. You press a button and they spin for you. Like, I don't have time to lick it. Anyway, so they come to my house like, you know, they're into their phones and this, and they're on there, and I open the door. They don't say hello, sir, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
The first words out of their mouth, what's the Wi-Fi password? What's the Wi-Fi? You know?
That reminds me, I have the Wi-Fi password on my wall in my guest room because it's like the first thing that people ask.
It's like the first thing people ask.
Yeah.
So yeah, so my daughters I said, okay, let me be that linchpin parent also, that my daughters go on to, you know, be empowered with great education. That's when I heard about this. And so, you know, my daughter's gone to, you know, great schools, and we've always been very involved. You know, because you have to partner. Parents also, you know, they have to partner up with the teachers. They have to partner up so that our kids can get the best education possible. It's not just the teacher's job. We have to be involved all the way with it. And trust me, some of the stuff that I can't even help them with today's.
So what do you do? Like, if you can't help them, what have you done in the past that to help them?
My wife
make sure they
will
do
make
well?
Up for it, or I'll have, there's like a nephew that, you know, is great at math, or, you know,
connected
and
to the right place.
my wife is more of an English major, so she don't have to worry about my daughters, and that is it's okay. So I would do whatever I could on memorization, because being a comic, we sort of have to remember things. So when there was a test, I'd quiz them, and I'd make it funny for them and how to remember certain information. But look, they've gone through. My daughter's at the top university in the country, and my youngest one is also going to follow the same route. So
when they asked the why. Like, why do good in school? What was your answer?
Well, it's funny. When they would ask me that, I said, you have to be the best you can at anything, whether you're doing it, whatever career, whatever you're doing in life, just do it to the best level that you can.
Yeah.
And the why is because you always want to give the best of yourself, whether they're playing a softball game, if they strike out, just give your best effort. So for me, it was, you're in school, we have to be there. And then, of course, there's that pragmatic side of me that says, listen, you have to have a great education, and especially for me, females, to be empowered so they have more options. And if I have to be on the road 30, 40 weeks a year to make sure they got the great education they did, that's why. So I told them that it's better for them, and of course, through their gifts that they're going to be able to expand through education, they can touch the world in many ways, many more ways than me telling jokes, maybe, you know, so.
That's amazing. Well, last question. You know, you and I talked about education equality earlier, because in our country, we see pockets, like if you're in a poorer part of town, you get one kind of education. If you're in a richer part of town, you get in a different kind of education. What do you say to that, and what advice would you give to parents that are struggling with that?
First, I mean, I have to tell you, of course, there's a long line of layers when it comes down to the education system, whether it be public. Private, it's a whole different thing, because you're choosing, okay, fine. But our public education is it's suffering from not enough engagement, I think, of parents as well. And I think that it's a real partnership, and it's easy to say that, but it's really hard to do when parents are working 2 jobs to get, I mean, they can't come home and help. and then for them to go out of their way, and the teachers are understaffed. So some of my best friends, they're the godparents to my daughters. They're educators. They're both educators here in Whittier, California, the Varoses. And so they have always kind of helped me along the way, me and my wife, how important school is, and the fact that they're educators themselves and they have their doctorates as well has made a big impact too for my young daughters. So they are in the public school system that they teach in, and that to me, they're like that beacon of these are great teachers, and they know that they're going to have some kids that may not have the ability to go to this private posh school, and so it takes it's going to take a while because it doesn't happen overnight. But really, parents need to also be educated in the fact that they have to be part of the program, because the teachers sometimes, I've seen, they feel like they're on an island by themselves. You know, nobody's helping them. They can't do it all by themselves. We shouldn't leave it up to them also. We have to partner with them.
That's fantastic. Well, we so appreciate you being here. I mean, just at home, I want to make sure that I reiterate some of the things that I heard today. And one is expect the best from your kids. Like, let those standards be high, and make that an effort that you talk about at home. And two, partner with the teachers. Make sure that it's a parent-teacher partnership,
and
so
it's
that
a
you're
different
tackling.
world because of the tech. You know, there's a lot more opportunity for them to stay connected to their teachers.
Yeah, absolutely. Through email,
you know,
different systems with
and many
each
new
school.
schools are expanding the way that they teach now, where they actually film the lesson. They can go back at home and watch the lesson. This is not crazy technology.
Right.
You can film the lesson, and a lot of teachers are doing that. And the kids that have an issue where they're not grasping it, whether maybe they're more of a visual learner, they didn't audibly hear it as well in class, they have that opportunity to see that again. So let's utilize all our technology too. This is not the most high-tech technology. It's here now. So we need to utilize that as well to be able to couple that to get them to the next level.
Well, and the other thing that I love that you said is, if you don't know yourself that particular subject, pair them up with somebody else, whether it's a nephew or someone, an educator,
and
someone
nobody
that's
wants
friends.
to talk about tutors, but sometimes
sometimes it's
like, you know,
sometimes it's needed.
You know, I always, you know, when I see, you have to make that self-sacrifice too that parents do, not just in time of going to work, but maybe you kind of spend that extra hour with your child and don't watch that show, or, you know, I DVR like all my baseball games and I watch them at 2 in the morning when everyone's asleep.
Well, thanks so much for being here. We just love having you. I hope that we get to interview you again. Love to get more of your perspective.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all you guys do. Thank you so much, because this is, I used to never understand, like when they used to tell me as a kid, you're that next generation. I go, what does that mean? But now as a parent, my daughters are in high school and university, like, you know, they're the next generation, so we have to be on board with them and make sure that they guide the rest of us along the right way.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Welcome back to the Raising the Standard show. You just saw my interview with Carlos Oscar at the Latin Leader Fest, the National Hispanic Christian Leadership's annual conference, and you just never want to miss those conferences. They're so much fun. And I'm here with Esmeralda Sanchez, who I refer to as Emergent Dr. Sanchez, because she's about to start her PhD at Rice University. You've been serving as the Deputy Director for the Faith and Education Coalition, and we've gotten to do so much in the last year together, and it's such a joy to have you here. You know, we get introduced to a lot of statistics, and I referenced one earlier. 1 out of 4 Hispanic students is college ready. So that means there are 3 students out there out of 4 that are not college ready, and we need to do something about it. We need to help students become college ready. The other stat that I mentioned that I wanted to make sure to give some context to for you at home is that 90% of Hispanic parents say college is something that is important in our home. We believe that college is the conduit of being successful, and we're on board for that. But the other piece that we want to make sure to talk about is 50% of college students are not making it to college graduation, and that's the piece that is a stressor that we really need to present to the Lord and ask Him to shed some light on and provide some wisdom and some tips for students and for parents alike. So we want to visit a little bit with you to talk about this, but we're going to hold off of that for just one moment, because we want you to know about an event that's taking place, and we want you to take part in it and to find out more. So watch this and find out